Perfect. Thank you very much. So I'd like to pass the mic on to you guys to introduce yourselves first. Just maybe 1 minute each, who you are, who you represent, before we dive in. Starting at the end, maybe.
Okay, hi. Welcome, everyone. My name is Marco. I'm a managing director of Bullish Exchange. We're a BaFin-licensed crypto exchange facing institutional clients out of Germany, passported the MiCA license into the rest of Europe.
Hi, everyone. I am Marta Chavarría. I am a qualified lawyer and working based in Barcelona at Chroma Legal.
Hi everyone, it's Alireza. I'm partner with Deloitte, leading the crypto practice for EMEA, active in crypto since 2014, and I'm from Germany.
Hi everyone, I'm Delphine. I'm head of policy at Solidus Labs, and we provide market surveillance systems for crypto asset provider, traditional finance institution, on-chain and off-chain. And I'm based in Switzerland. Thank you.
Apparently I have my own one. Hi, I'm Alex. I'm with EWA Law Austria, so we are just located a few meters over there. I'm actually in Martin's team, so Martin, who just spoke before us here, and we are focusing very much now on all stuff related to MiCA. So actually, we are responsible for some of the largest licensing applications currently ongoing here in Austria, and that's pretty much it.
Perfect, thank you. So a mix of regulatory, policy, operator on the panel. Myself, Justine Herrera, lawyer by trade, and I'm the managing partner of MK Fintech Partners. And today we're discussing MiCA, a topic I'm guessing most of you are definitely familiar with by now, or coming out of your ears. Basically, there's about 2 months left for the transition to completely finish for the 1st July deadline. So obviously, it's sort of very tight, a lot of tension in the air for those who don't have a license yet. So definitely interesting next 2 months. So maybe the first question I'd like to open with is sort of $1 million question of how long does the MiCA application take? So obviously everyone wants their application done yesterday. So what's the, sort of, from your experience in your jurisdiction, the average time, and what are sort of the variables? Perhaps I can start with Marco.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we used to be licensed prior to MiCA with the German Banking Act already. So from that point of view, it was a transition into MiCA. The whole process took us approximately 7 months, including preparation of all the documentation, based on the fact that we got our banking license back in December 24. We were pretty up to date with all the documentation anyway. So from that point of view, these 7 months is not really to take granted as a regular time frame for getting the MiCA license. We had the pleasure kind of being on a fast track.
No, that's super fast, actually. And Germany, one of the leading jurisdictions, sort of top 5, I would say. And Marta, do you have any experience from a legal?
Yes, actually, Spain is it's a bit of a unique market because as far as I know, I think it's the only regulator who's extended, because initially they were committed to the 12-month grandfathering period. In December, in view that there were basically a couple of dozen applications, they decided to extend it until the end of June. So I would say in Spain it's taking longer. And my experience with clients we work with, it's basically 8 to 12 months rather. It's a complete change of the culture and an up to date of all the operational workflows. So it's a big effort.
Fair enough. And I would sort of, obviously it makes a big difference if you had a framework before or not, or there's a lot of regulatory arbitrage in the area depending on obviously what you had before, the resources in place from the regulator. And Ali, do you have anything to add maybe from your experience?
I mean, yes, I will just double what you just said. I mean, we have right now 192, I think, CASPs who are licensed in Europe. Out of them, 52 are in Germany, so Germany is number 1.
Yes.
After that, Netherlands is coming with 27. And we have some jurisdictions like Italy with 0, or Poland, which didn't implement the MiCA.
They just passed the act yesterday or the day before.
Romania is the same. So, and as you just said, I mean, in Germany we have the crypto regulation since 2020 in place, and we had already many regulated before, as Marco clearly said, and that's why the question like how long does it take? It's not really clear to say. It's also not fair to say, yeah, Germany we have 52 because there's 52 out of the 52. I think 30 were already regulated. So it's coming from 0 till 27 like Netherlands did, or from 30 to 52. It's a big difference. I think Austria did a very nice move, having really from the scratch like new applications coming and doing it so fast. It's very good. But basically in the MiCA it's written how long it takes, because if you file the complete application, the regulator has an exact timing how they can look at the application. But now the but comes, most of the NCAs I know, and they did a couple of applications around in Europe, they do not accept your application formally. They say, please come with the application before and show it to us, and then we can discuss when you're allowed to file it formally, so we're not letting the time ticking, and this is how it works. So I would say, I mean, maybe you can confirm it, but below 8 till 10 months, if you really start from scratch till getting finally the license, it's impossible.
Yes. And obviously then you have added complexities thrown in, like the interplay between PSD2. So they just threw a spanner in the wreck, so you need authorization, commencement, and now also a payment institution license. So that's interesting. In terms of the PSD2 interplay, has your jurisdiction done anything sort of in terms of dual authorization or to speed up the process? So I'm from Malta, and sort of I can speak on behalf of the MFFC. And thankfully they did a sort of a limited PI license, which is a sort of fast-track license for those who have a CASP or a CASP application. Was there anything similar in your jurisdictions? In Germany, and you're nodding, so in Germany.
Yeah, in Luxembourg, but yeah, please go ahead, Delphine. No. Yes, I mean, the PSD license or EMI license, I think BaFin was the first one before even the EBA no action letter was out saying, oh, if you want to get the license, you have to apply now. And then everyone's saying, okay, EBA didn't really say anything. It's like no action. It means you can wait till March. No, you can't wait till March. You have to do it now. I think the FMA in Austria was different. FMA in Austria said, we're going to wait and see what the PSD3 or PSR is saying. And then now you have many Austrian players, like big players, who come, oh, damn it, we have to get this EMI license. Otherwise, we're not allowed to do custody and transfer on stablecoins. And so this is something, yeah, I mean, that's why maybe it happened faster in Germany, yeah?
You want to add something?
Yeah, in addition, we are already PSD2 licensed. It took us roughly 3 months to get that license because, again, we started in March, handed in all the documentation based on the fact that we had everything in place anyway, right? So this was probably the fastest license I ever achieved, getting a license within 3 months, but based on the well-prepared pre-work we already did for the KWG, those Banking Act license and the MiCA license. I mean, we were forced to go after the PSD2 license anyway, so there was no reason to wait. Point number one. And yeah, we've been the first in Germany who were double licensed like MiCA and PSD2.
Fair enough. And maybe moving to you, Delphine, away from PSD2, would you say that MiCA harmonization has sort of solved a lot of things or added a layer of complexity? And would you say that due to a potential layer of complexity, other jurisdictions like UK and Switzerland are being turned to as a sort of safe haven or alternative solution?
So I think I'm going to give you a lawyer reply. It all depends, right? It depends on your business model. You know, what is your product? What are you trying to achieve? Who are your customer? What type of customer? And where are they based? And which one you are targeting, right? Because if you look at the complexity, right, MiCA offer you the access to 30 countries, 500 million retail customers. If you look at UK and Switzerland, I mean, like, this is very small market, but maybe if you are an exchange, a broker-dealer, a market maker, or if you are a token issuer, your goals are very different. So your needs are different in terms of licensing and about who you can actually target directly, right? Then if you look at the complexity in Switzerland and in the UK, you just need to do an AML registration. I'm simplifying things a lot here because in Switzerland you may also need a FINMA license. But to make it easy, UK, Switzerland, AML registration. So that's a quick win, right? It's very easy. I mean, it's not so easy, but in 3 to 6 months, you got it. But what are you going to do with this license? If you're an exchange, you can only target customers there. Plus, in the UK, there is a new reform coming up. All crypto business will have to be under the FSMA, which is the securities regulation. It may include DeFi. So in the UK, it's going to be very strict. Switzerland, a reform is also on the way. So I think it really depends which type of business you are. And as a European, I think MiCA is amazing from a compliance point of view. Plus, with the AML regulation coming into force in 2027, it makes my life much more easy. And even if it's, people are always saying, oh, MiCA is so complex, it's so expensive. I mean, in other countries, it's the same. And other countries have had regulation like that. Like if you look at Hong Kong, you need to have a double license with the SFC and with the HKMA. And it's very, very strict requirement in terms of market abuse, for instance. I think it's stricter in Hong Kong. Then Japan is going that way, South Korea. So I think MiCA is really good for a business point of view. Then, is there any business? Do we have a lot of money in Europe? That's a different question to which I will not reply.
Fair enough. I know. I guess it does depend. So sort of very restrictive for stable coins. So you could have a leg in Europe for the Europeans and a global player sort of hubbing out of Switzerland. So it depends what you want to do. And would you say that you're seeing sort of a flight of quality in terms of level of applications? So as we know, MiCA's sort of not for the smaller players. You have to be medium to large due to local substance and capital requirements. Are you seeing sort of a difference in terms of quality of applicants, and what do you say is going to change and shape the crypto market in Europe? Because obviously you're going to have less players and sort of maybe consolidation to some extent.
So I mean, with MiCA, we definitely have a significant upstep in overall quality. I mean, we're looking at Germany. There was already a very comprehensive and strict regime looking at crypto assets, but for all the rest of Europe, we had pretty much an AML regime that was pretty standard and not that extensive, especially looking at client protection overall, kind of also client disclosure requirements and overall safeguarding requirements on crypto assets. So we definitely see a significant step up, and all the global players that we also see in Austria now, of course, they have a well-functioning business from an operational side, but looking at that from an EU compliance perspective, I think we also see then also for EU clients a big step up in the quality and security for the delivery of services.
Anything to add? Would you agree?
Yeah, in general, I totally agree. There's, I think, one major question every applicant should ask themselves, and this is what kind of clientele are you targeting in the end? With Bullish, for example, as we target institutional clients only, it was never a question where to apply for the license within Europe, because what you need to do is you need to deal with a tier 1 regulator to get your foot into the door of your potential client, which in our case are institutionals, major banks, and so on and so forth. Also, MiCA is a European license. Nevertheless, there are still slight differences, I would say, between the regulators within Europe. If I would have been like a retail-focused exchange, to be quite frank, I mean, you could also go to Malta, for example, where licensing used to be a little bit easier. I don't say it is anymore, but that is why we always focus on tier 1 regulators worldwide, in our case, in Bullish case. So we're BaFin regulated, as already mentioned, one of the most strict regulators anyway. Probably in the world, we are Hong Kong licensed, we're New York licensed, so that's the only chance you have being an institutional-focused exchange like we are.
Sorry, maybe let me just add on this. I mean, I'm doing this kind of choosing the right jurisdiction since 2017, so way before MiCA was there. And back in the days, even I was in Germany, I was telling people to go to Gibraltar or Malta or Switzerland. But the point is not just look at a tier 1 maybe regulator. The small nuances many people don't have even on their radar, like for example getting a bank account. I mean, we know that we have 9 CASPs now in Austria, but I don't know really of a proper bank in Austria which gives a bank account to an exchange. So not getting a bank account, not having fiat access is is like destroying your business. And so they're like the small nuances. I had like companies going to Gibraltar and Malta, and the regulator was saying, yes, come to us. And then they were trying to do some bank transfer and they didn't get a bank account. So they're like these small things you really need to look at, and you can only see it if you did it already a couple of times and not just looking on the paper which jurisdiction is the best. I'm not saying that Austria or Germany or whatever is the best. It really depends, as you said it, on your business, on your target group, or who want you to target, and so on and so on. Maybe Cyprus is good. Maybe Greece is good, which is going to get the next big exchange. Maybe some other jurisdiction is good. So all Europe is good, but it really depends on how you want to do business.
That's a very good point, yes. So obviously MiCA introduces safeguarding, so you need a credit institution account, insurance as well. So you have to see, can you get a bank account, can you get sort of an insurer? Malta definitely had that problem, and now I think the banks are definitely trying to sort of have realized that there's a big potential, and you can get sort of massive business from it. So we've sort of solved that problem. However, beyond even just opening a bank account, the type of bank, so if you're dealing with a tier 1 exchange, you have to have very high-tech operations to be able to deal with sort of processing the volume. So it's not just a bank account, which type of bank, and sort of can you service the type of operations that we're dealing with. So yes, those are definitely things to consider beyond sort of the regulator and how business friendly they are. Although in reality, if you are, let's say, you have a license from Vienna, from sort of Austria, you should be able to open a bank account in Germany or wherever. On paper, have a right, but I don't know. Sort of nowadays, it's still proving to be very difficult to open that.
Yeah,
maybe
so
we can
especially what we have seen with those larger global players. Of course, the smaller local ones. This especially also were also already registered under the VASP regime. Had not that big of difficulties, but of course, global players now entering the European market. Also, especially in Austria, facing difficulties getting a bank account. But I think also what we have seen and what was then also done with regards to FMA. So I think there's also from that side, FMA is very open to also for Austrian players having bank accounts in other jurisdictions in Europe, because they are also aware of that problem in Austria that's still there. I think there is also some movement now, because of course Austrian banks also seeing the potential that's there, and of course they are also all now regulated players. It's not the same as before. But yeah, I mean, those are of course hurdles, like opening a bank account, finding local staff that can support your office operations here, because you of course then need also local substance and everything on that. Those are also parts that you need to consider setting up business somewhere.
Fair enough. And in terms of sort of, we know the deadline is looming, 1st July. What are you seeing behind the scenes? So some companies are not going to make it. Are they being sold, receiving enforcement notices, maybe acquisitions? Sort of, do you have any experience in what's actually going on behind the scenes? And is there sort of any panic? Maybe you want Ali,
yeah, maybe I go first and then some of you. So what you can see, I mean, you have to differentiate between those jurisdictions who are MiCA ready, where you can apply, and it's maybe your fault that you didn't do it in advance and you didn't complete your documentation. And those jurisdictions like Poland, Romania, and so on, and even Italy, where the regulator was too slow. And so, of course, they're all panicking, because by 30th of June, the National Competent Authority cannot say anything like, oh yeah, I'm going to give you like a no action, or going to do this. No, it's going to be harmonized, and ESMA is going to look on it and going to look who's like still active without a license, and then the National Competent Authority cannot give like any pardon or any no action letter. It's not working like this. So what we see right now is either that they're trying to wind down the company, they're trying to sell the unregulated company to someone, or maybe going out of Europe, offering it to Middle East, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and some other jurisdictions where they're really in need of good players, and where they can start fresh with VARA, of ADGM. And the other thing which I see, and which many people are not aware of, even if you do not get the license yet, you can do white label model. So you can get like a custodian and then a broker / a market maker who's like giving the license to you. So tied agency is not allowed under MiCA, but white label is allowed. And this you can do, and then you can still continue with your application. It doesn't mean that your application is not done by 30th. You have to stop. It only means you're not allowed to actively promote your business anymore by yourself. If you do it white label, you can still continue.
Yeah, I would say that in Spain, at least, the regulator is clearly keen on taking a look at every application they have at the moment, and to finish the file by the end of June, right? Because the moment the grandfathering period ends, they will really look into those who didn't get there, and they actually they sent a notification to each of the VASPs registered at the Bank of Spain, saying around February, saying, well, we've noticed you haven't filed a MiCA license application, so we expect you to dissolve. And we expect you to go extinct and start preparing all the procedure for that. So I'd say that I have the impression they are going to be tough on that. And on the other side, they are also kind of trying to, both by formal and informal channels, to speed up applications and files from applicants that really had the willing to be compliant by the end of the grandfathering period, and then, it will create two leaks, and then we'll need to see how this evolves.
That's it. The reality has hit sort of home when you receive like an enforcement notice or a request to supply like a wind down plan. And there's also issues with supplying a wind down plan. So for example, who's going to hold your assets? So if you're going to give users a period to redeem, and they don't redeem, what MiCA entity is going to accept to hold assets which might be sort of laying there for a while. So these type of issues are beginning to arise. So obviously not fun, depending what side of the fence you're sitting on. And we'll see, the race is on for regulators to give as many licenses as they can the next 2 months. But obviously, there's a limit of how much can be done in such a tight time frame. And maybe Delphine, to speak to speak a bit about market abuse, perhaps. So do you see any market abuse risk in the area of CASPs? And how is it developing under MiCA?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the market till MiCA in Europe, you could actually do wash trading, fund running, insider trading. So that was totally possible because it was not covered by a main national regulation. So yes, there has been a risk, and I think there has been, MiCA entered into force end of December 30, 2024, and Title 6 of MiCA is on market abuse. It's on the prevention and prohibition of market abuse. MiCA Title 6 apply to person professionally arranging and executing trade in crypto asset, PPAETs, which is broader than CASP. So Title 6 has been in force since the end of 2024. You'd be surprised that a lot of CASP 18 months behind the line are still not ready. But I think, it also depends on the sophistication, right? So I think for smaller CASPs, it's been something that is really, really new. And it also depends on your business model, right? If you're a broker dealer, an exchange, or if you're a token issuer, your market abuse risk is completely different. The type of control you need to have in place are different. What we've seen in Europe, we've seen a lot of global exchanges trying to get license in EU, and especially in Vienna. I think there's a lot here. And from a global exchange point of view, I can tell you that most of them already had market abuse trade surveillance system in place, and they were already monitoring the risk. The way they did it, probably not so MiCA compliant, but at least they have something and they know what we are talking about, right? From the regulator point of view, that's also something interesting, because from the regulator point of view, regulators are used to investigate market abuse in TradFi. And as you may know, and probably all of you know, that crypto asset doesn't work like traditional finance instruments. They are trading in a multitude of venues. The price can be different from venue A to venue B. You have decentralized exchanges, move everywhere. So it's very different. So when we talk with regulator and they need to investigate market abuse case, for them it's sometimes quite difficult to really grasp what they have to do. So it's a two-way street. Regulator is learning, and also CASP are learning together. But what I can tell you is that regulators are almost done with authorization, and they are going to go after CASP that do not respect MiCA requirements. They're going to do inspection on site. They are planning it, and they are looking at market abuse. So, for instance, ESMA and all the national competent authorities are using our platform, Solidus Halo, to survey the market. So what they do, they have access to a platform. The platform is firing alerts, and they see the alerts, so they can see if CASP are actually doing something or not doing something. So my prediction is like, be ready. Enforcement is not a nice, dreamy word. It's happening, and it's coming very soon.
Fair enough. And as you said, it's one thing to have your market abuse policy and everything done on paper, but we're seeing sort of in Malta, what we're seeing is a trend that post-authorization, within 6 to 12 months, you get an on-site inspection. So they will check exactly what you have in place, and the proof is in the pudding. So agreed, it's good to actually know how and what you're implementing.
Can I add something?
Yes, please do.
Sorry. So, I'm fully with you. I think market abuse is the biggest underestimated compliance under MiCA. And just to give you one small example, you remember back when the Melania Coin was coming out? I was in Davos with some people here in the room, and when the Melania Coin was coming out, it was like straight after the Trump coin was coming out, and everyone in Davos, I was thinking it's crazy. So someone really like buying this coin? There were like people, like rich people, taking out their phones and trying to buy it. And I said, oh yeah, the only legit exchange I found who's like listing Melania Coin was Bitpanda. So Bitpanda was then having this Melania Coin out, and it was like market abuse times 10. It's like crazy. There was no white paper for that. Bitpanda was getting that out. FMA was looking at it. Bitpanda was listing these coins, selling it like the hottest potato. And I was thinking, okay, what is really happening? Isn't it like MiCA? Isn't it like market abuse? Isn't there some regulation going on? So it's not just like the biggest underestimated obligation by the participants. It's by the regulator. It's by everyone. And they're saying, okay, so something's going wrong here. So
don't worry, they are getting at it now. you can trust me, they are using your tool, and we are training them. So don't worry, Ali. By 2027, we will see enforcement action. You will remember this conversation. Or maybe I'm just being very optimistic.
I know. That's very interesting. In fact, I don't know how it works, the authorization in your country, but in Malta, basically, we have rounds of feedback, and they're sort of divided. You have conduct, you have market abuse, you have IT, you have AML, and market abuse was first included with sort of a general feedback round, and now it's a whole separate body. So they're definitely taking it very, very seriously. Is it similar in Germany and Austria in terms of the authorization? Do you get sort of rounds of feedback, and is it divided by function? Curious to know.
At least in Spain, they divide it into AML and then IT. So all the IT compliance part, and the rest is on the same structure, like the same file, and they look at it as a whole.
Fair enough.
So in Austria, I think we have the big benefit with the FMA actually setting up a whole new department for focusing on MiCA applications. So I think that's a big plus. But of course, the department now is very crypto heavy focused and also very MiCA specific. And then of course with AML and market abuse stuff, they already have those competent departments within FMA, and they of course then outsource that stuff. So that all goes to the relevant departments within FMA, and then of course you have those people that are very knowledgeable in those areas with years of experience looking at that stuff as well.
Yeah, and just to add on Austria, we just had a meeting with the FMA earlier today, and I can tell you it's a really significant team. I don't know how many people, 15, Irene, right? Something like that. Yeah. So they are taking it actually really seriously here in Vienna.
Fair enough. Okay, interesting. Maybe two other points I want to touch upon. We have about 10 minutes left. One is FinTech. So obviously because of the PSD2 interplay, we're seeing that CASPs now also need a PI license soon. Are you seeing in your jurisdictions a lot of FinTechs come forward, PIs or EMIs, to leverage their license and apply for a CASP license as well on top of that? And how is the regulator dealing with it? Are they welcoming it and sort of streamlining the process for them? Because obviously they can leverage their license to get a dual license on top. Are you seeing any activity in the FinTech space or PIs, EMIs applying for CASPs? Or no? Austria, Germany, Spain.
I would basically say other way around. So the FinTechs or the smaller businesses started first, I would say. They were really fast. They started first to try to get a license. Some of them got a license, some of them stopped doing it. Now we see that the bigger players, really the bigger players, when I say bigger players, I say major banks are coming in, and they're all like going to get the license. The hottest topic is right now getting stable coins and swapping it against tokenized money market funds. They're doing like something like this. So they are now coming. There are a couple of exchanges, bigger exchanges left, some elephant in the room. So they who didn't get the license, but who will get the license. And I rather see that fintechs and smaller entities, even EMIs who have already some license, they're either trying to sell or they're trying to get out of the business. Because the problem is we now talk the whole time about the MiCA license. It's not ending with the MiCA license. You get the MiCA license, you have the PSD EMI license, and then you get the MiFID license, because we have spot crypto trading and then we have futures. So like everyone got the spot MiCA license. No one realizes that if you go on like Binance or Bybit or whatever, and you see spot trading and futures trading, but then you say, okay, futures is not MiCA, it's a different license. So
yes.
If you really want to have skin in the game as a fintech or startup, which I try to work a lot with them, it's not really working with the business plan of 3 years with, I don't know, a couple of million euro like funding. It's not really working. So you have to get the whole picture. And that's why I would say in 1 till 3 years, we're going to see the market being consolidated. Some bigger players are going to be left. The smaller ones are either going to sell or merge with the others.
Yeah, I would agree. What we always say is like after the license is before the license. So there's always a license that's going to follow anyway.
Yes.
We have the same situation. I mean, we started with MiCA, then we were forced to the EMI license. Of course, to offer the full scope of products, Bullish offers on its global exchange. We as a broker-dealer in Germany, we need to top up the MiFID II license, because otherwise we aren't able to sell perps and options into the European market. So from that point of view, I agree. The bigger companies or the bigger players in the game, they have no other chance than to acquire all licenses necessary or possible even out there to expand business in the future, which automatically means that it's harder for the smaller players or even the new players to enter the market.
Yeah, I would add here that for small players, it's going to get tough. And it's already got tough, because to get ready for the license, if you are bootstrapping, right, you have a new idea you want to build, it's basically impossible, right? The amount of resources and funding that you need to devote just to comply. And it's what they said. It's not only to get the license, it's because we know that the day one will come, knock the door, and they'll say, what are you doing? How are you doing that? And this process in here. So it's an ongoing expenditure, and it's an ongoing investment that they need to do. So this leaves the question of what happens to the smaller ones, to those who don't have the resources, right? And here's what he was saying, that there are not many options left, I would say.
I mean, there's a saying from TradFi back in the days. Becoming a bank, it's rather simple and easy. Stay as a bank and survive as a bank, that's actually the key and the more challenging part of all of your business. And this is what we see in the crypto space currently, right? I mean, getting licenses, well, easy more or less, but nevertheless, keeping the license, being complying to the licenses and everything that comes with the license, this is a tricky part about it. And if you don't have a business model that is able to finance all these fixed costs you literally gaining with getting the license, is key in the whole scenario.
Agreed. It's highly competitive. Everyone's a one-stop shop. So unless you have a competitive edge, you know, it's hard to survive. And in fact, that is one thing regulators will assess: business viability and you proving your case and your projections in this space. Maybe a last question. We will have a few minutes left. Where do you see this space going? Do you think there's going to be MiCA 2.0, maybe regulating DeFi? Do you think there'll be another effort at DLT pilot regime 2.0, which might be a bit more successful. Sort of where do you see the space in the next 5 years developing from a regulatory standpoint?
Yeah, I can start. So you're talking about MiCA 2.0. The Commission is actually issuing a draft anytime soon with amendments to MiCA. It's supposed to come up this week. So already this week we will have a little bit more visibility of what is next. So there is this coming up. And on the DeFi topic, I think this is a hot topic in the regulatory world globally. I don't know if some of you have read the UK consultation paper. I think it's 26.4 on the parameters of regulatory activities, and when you read it, DeFi might fall into scope. So DeFi will be a topic. The question is not about like always going to be regulated. It's not about like will it be regulated. It's more like will it be regulated. My personal wish is that it will be a gradual type of regulation depending on level of decentralization. But DeFi is such. I mean, it depends on what you call DeFi. My personal belief, and don't kill me please, is that there is no such a thing as something that is decentralized nowadays. If you look at all the decentralized exchanges, you have team behind it that can help deposit and withdrawal, and you're going to tell me this is decentralized. And our clients and our people here in Europe that are to be regulated, and we talk about it, it's very expensive. Then they have to compete with, I'm not going to name, but some decentralized exchanges that are pretending to be decentralized. Then it's a very political topic, but so yeah, I think like regulation will come. Another hot topic obviously is tokenization, and regulators around the world trying to issue guidance and guidelines on tokenization. Bermuda, the BMA, has issued. If you're interested in this topic, they issue a consultation paper on tokenization that is really interesting, and I think Ireland also issued one very recently. So that's for the regulatory trend. And regulation are not going away. It's getting stricter everywhere in the world. In Japan, it's going from payment to securities. Taiwan is ramping up. It's coming. And in the US, it will eventually come up at some point. So, yep. Sorry.
Are there any closing remarks where do you see things evolving? Maybe just 30 seconds each or 1 minute each.
Yeah, I mean, from what we have seen with those big global players now, it definitely what we have touched upon already. It goes towards having free licenses with MiCA, MiFID, and then of course also an EMI license. That's the one part. Then of course looking at different layer 2 projects and all of that stuff. I mean, we have now kind of regulation on issuance and offering, but I think also that often touches up on the DeFi stuff. And then I think a third big topic that could come in the future or is already coming now is prediction market, because that's also of course very closely connected to crypto assets. And there is the market is already there, so regulation will likely follow, or we will have to look how we can put it under currently regulation scope. So yeah, I think that's
there are some NCAs looking at it in fact already.
I would like to double both of you. I mean, the only decentralized coin and chain is Bitcoin, in my opinion. Full stop. Yeah. Everything else.
Maybe die. Maybe die.
I want also to double you. So if you want to see where the market is going, you have to look where the money is coming or where the profits are coming from. The profits are nowadays not coming from people buying and holding crypto assets. This is not how an exchange is making profit. The profit is made where you do really transactions. And this is nowadays like yield generating coins like staking, what I say, like tokenized money market funds, hyperliquid, Ethena, like all of this where you can get with the coin some yield. And like staking, crypto lending, crypto borrowing, this is like the stuff which is coming and where the regulation is probably also going to. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I would just say that crypto ecosystem is becoming a regulated sector, right? So as a financial sector was, now we have to keep in mind that it's going to become a really regulated sector with all the tight standards and big players operating in it.
Agreed. It's even on par with AMLA institutions now.
Yeah, in the end, there's no place to hide anymore for DeFi. So the whole world changed fast, super fast actually, and
including offshore as well.
Of course, same thing. I mean, and as Alireza already mentioned, the question is where's the money coming from in the future, and this will literally show us a path where the whole market will go. And to be quite frank, I mean, TradFi and DeFi is closing up. Everyone wants to become a full service supplier to their client. And this is why there is no way to act without regulation anymore.
Perfect, good. Hope you enjoyed it. We're just 2 minutes over. Thank you very much, and thank you, panelists, for a great discussion.